The Lorna M. Johnson Global Institute is rooted in equality and justice. We are committed to exploring innovative, non-traditional modalities and approaches to positively shift cultural norms relating to bias, hate, and disparities. Thank you for joining us today as we discuss the fierce urgency of this moment, a great moment for healing communications and bridging the divides within race, culture, faith, media, and politics. We must be the change we seek. Let's follow the compass of love for one another. Open our hearts and inspire the best in each of us, eliminating the virus of bigotry and confusion. Responding to the call of our moral compass for a more perfect union, I ask each and every one of you to join me in bridging the divide by sharing your bridge building ideas through the Lorna M. Johnson Global Institute Town Hall. The future is in our hands. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are around the globe. Welcome to the Lorna M. Johnson Global Institute Virtual Town Hall. You know what to do. Host a Facebook party, share with family and friends, and most importantly, let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Today we're discussing the power of the Black woman's voice. Black women have made essential contribution to the productivity, wealth, and success of this nation. From supporting families to serving as community leaders, Black women are in the league by themselves. Black women are inspirational, motivational, and are the success of this nation. Still, in all her success, she is burdened by the racism and racial inequity. We must protect the Black woman so that she is free to do what she's always done, save America from itself. I speak as an immigrant in our America. I speak as a woman in our America. I speak as a Black woman in our America. Black woman plays a powerful role in American democracy and politics. Through a high level of voting and activism, this past election, Black women have showed up in record numbers as percentage to our population more than any other group in our country or in our history of our elections. And our President-elect Joe Biden acknowledged it by choosing the first Black woman vice president, Kamala Harris.
All right.
Hi. Sorry to keep you.
That's all right. You ready to go to work?
Oh my God. I'm so ready to go to work.
First of all, is the answer yes?
The answer is absolutely yes, Joe. And I am ready to work. I am ready to do this with you, for you. I'm just deeply honored and I'm very excited.
Wow. Not only that President-elect Joe Biden know the power of a Black woman, but we have some amazing men joining our town hall today who can tell us how to recognize the power of the Black women's voices through their own lived experiences. As much as Black women helped bring Joe Biden across the finish line to become the president-elect, it was one of these special guests that I have here today who inspired by the woman in his life, the woman that he married. He was inspired by her and endorsed Joe Biden as our next nominee for president of these United States. Majority Whip James the Rainmaker Clyburn is a voice to be reckoned with. Representative James Clyburn is one of the most influential politicians in Democratic politics. His daughters will attest that they grew up in politics and public service as their parents met in a South Carolina jail during a civil rights protest. The late Emily Clyburn influenced her husband to get involved and propelled him to being the highest ranking black man in the House of Representatives and the third ranking in the Democratic Party, representing his birth state of South Carolina in the 6th District since 1993. His name is associated with power politics and dynasty, as all three daughters, Mignon, Jennifer, and Angela, are following in his political footsteps. Known for his fish fry that started nearly 30 years ago to thank his supporters, turned into the most coveted event for presidential candidates. Clyburn meets people where they are. Political historians will pin his strategic advocacy as a catalytic force that quickly and dramatically changed the trajectory of the Democratic Party 2020 presidential election. James Carville said, Clyburn saved the Democratic Party. I'm sure most of you will agree with me that he saved our country and our democracy and should be named Times Person of the Year 2020. Clyburn, you got my vote. Ladies and gentlemen, my mentor and friend, Majority Whip, James Enos, the Rainmaker Clyburn. Congressman Clyburn, welcome. Welcome. So great to see you.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to be with you this evening. And I really, you took me back a ways. Looking at that collage of pictures, John Glenn, I don't know what kind of suit that was I had on. But I'll tell you a little bit about how far back that was. But thank you so much.
Awesome.
I'm pleased to be a part of this, and I look forward to this evening. As you probably know, we also have elections going on for leadership. So I've got two computers going here.
Right.
So when votes are called, I may have to jump off, and I do have to make a nomination of Eddie Bernice Johnson, another outstanding Black woman who chairs our Science and Technology Committee. And Eddie Bernice and I came to Congress together, and she asked me to nominate her to be chair again. So when they call for her vote, I'll have to jump off and do that, but I'll look forward to participating with you.
Absolutely. I'm so great. The last time you were with me, it was about celebrating the life of John Lewis. And today we're celebrating our winning in the election. So it's really great to have you back with us. You more than anyone knows the history and the work and the worth of a Black woman, raising three beautiful Black daughters and losing your very silent yet powerful Black woman, your lady Emily, almost a year ago. I am very spiritual. So, I believe that the power of the people that we love and that they leave us, that they're still with us. And I'm just wondering, how has Lady Emily's spirit and legacy guided you in your social and political decisions right now?
Well, thanks for asking that question. It's kind of interesting because I was asked something similar several days ago, and I told of how right after my fish fry last year, when all 20-something candidates came to South Carolina. They were there at the fish fry, and Emily at the time was not well enough to attend. But after the fish fry that night, we talked about it, talked about all the people who were there, the number of candidates. She said to me, the best bet for winning next year is Joe Biden. And she said that to me in, I think it was like June of last year. And so I remembered that. Then all of a sudden, after we went home, getting ready for the South Carolina primary, I knew I was going to vote for Joe because she had already instructed me as to what. But I didn't know exactly how to endorse because I was asked for an endorsement, and I was trying to figure out how to do it. And then I went to this funeral the Friday before the debate. It was my longtime accountant that passed away, and I went to the funeral service. It was going to be at noon that Friday. I got to the church around 11:30, and I went down to pay my respects. As I turned to walk back down the aisle, my eyes met this lady sitting on the front pew of the church. I had never seen her before, and she kind of beckoned to me. And I went over to her, and she said to me, I need to ask you a question. And if you don't want anybody to hear the answer, lean down and whisper it in my ear. Okay. She asked the question, who are you voting for in this primary? And when I told her, I can't describe the look. Her head snapped back. She looked in my face and she said, I needed to hear that. And this community needs to hear from you. And I left that funeral that day and I could not get her countenance out of my mind. And I kept hearing, this community needs to hear from you.
Wow.
Got on my phone, remembering what Emily had said to me months earlier, and I called, I think you might know Antoine C. Wright, who handles all my media stuff. I called Antoine, and I said, Antoine, I'm going to give an endorsement. This is the way I want to do it. I want you to get some radio ads prepared. I want to get some robocalls prepared. I want us to do this in such a way that we can create a surge for Joe Biden. Because as you know, he already lost 3 times. Lost in Iowa, lost in New Hampshire.
Exactly.
Lost in Nevada. And so I didn't have one single word written. I just called upon that experience with Miss Janie Jones, I now know her name, at St. John Baptist Church, and Emily Clyburn, who said to me, that's your best bet. And we gave the endorsement. And we did it in such a way, it created the surge, and everybody thinks that's what breathed life back into the campaign. And here we are.
And it did.
Joe Biden, president.
Absolutely. That is awesome. I'm glad we were able to get that out because those are some of the things I wanted to bring out. And so I'm glad you brought that up. We have some great guests here with us today. And I know you have to leave a little early. You may have to leave, but please come back if you can in between. We will go on for the hour. But are you feeling, now that you've done this, a lot of people yielded to your words. They responded. Black community responded. Black women responded. Are you feeling a sense of responsibility to support the progress of Black women and that they are properly represented in this administration?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. As you mentioned earlier, and you've shown here today, I have 3 daughters. They're grown daughters. They're very active politically. Recently, I've been going by surface back and forth between Washington and South Carolina. And my oldest, Mignon, who do you know, rode up with me today. And we spent a lot of time in the car talking about the responsibility that I have. So, of course, she serves on the transition committee dealing with technology stuff. And my youngest daughter, on the day that Joe Biden was elected president, she got elected to the school board in my community and was leading vote getter. My middle daughter, Jennifer, ran my campaign this time. and also the campaign, a few other people. And so they're very active politically. And I have an obligation to make sure that the Biden administration and as well as the South Carolina and the National Democratic parties do right, not just by what it may do for women, but what they do with women. That to me is more important for women, especially African American women, to be involved in the decision-making process. It's one thing for you to say, this is what I'm gonna do for you. I'd much rather you do it with me. And so that's what,
awesome.
to make sure that we do that.
That's awesome. I have a man of the cloth with me, and I want you to meet some of these guests. And I have a whole analogy that I want to talk about, and I hope we'll be able to discuss it before you leave. So I have a wonderful, another awesome man who has raised with powerful women around him, and he's a man of the cloth, and he understands all the spiritual stuff. And I'm about to bring him on right now. His sister, his older sister is Grace Jones, and he's another one that probably people refer to him sometimes as Grace Jones' brother instead of is by himself. So he understands the power of the Black woman. So let's learn a little bit about Bishop Noel Jones. Fellow Jamaican Bishop Noel Jones was raised by a bishop and an evangelist alongside a diverse array of siblings, one of whom is a world-renowned entertainer, Grace Jones. He received a call to ministry at age 19 and obtained a degree in theology. At age 26, he accepted his first pastorate at Bethel Temple of Longview, Texas. In 1994, Jones was chosen to succeed Bishop Robert W. McMurray for the 1,000-member Greater Bethany Community Church in Los Angeles. During his tenure, the membership increased significantly that in 2003, a new building was acquired to accommodate the growing membership of 17,000. Now known as City of Refuge, the church is proud of their choir, making #1 on the Billboard Top Gospel Album list, and their bishop provocative, challenging, and life-changing messages. If you need inspiration and motivation to march towards your destiny, visit Bishop Jones at City of Refuge. Ladies and gentlemen, my favorite bishop and friend, Bishop Noel Jones.
Well, I'm glad to be here with you. I'm glad to be here with you.
Finally, thank you. I'm glad you're here with me, my favorite bishop. Yes. So did you hear me talk about your sister and that you're often referred to as Bishop Grace Jones' brother, right? How do you feel about that? And what kind of household did you grow up with those awesome women? What was your household like?
In some cases, I am regarded as Grace Jones's brother, but my brother Chris said something really funny the other day. He went to a concert. I think Chris Tucker was doing it somewhere in Atlanta or in New York. And my brother Chris said he didn't know whose name to call when he went in to get to the backstage. He didn't know whose name to call, but he called mine, and it did the works.
It worked.
Anyway, my sister Grace actually, in many instances, is a product of my mother, because my mother was extremely powerful, extremely generous, but extremely powerful at the same time. Because my dad was a different kind of Jamaican guy who was clutching at every nickel, he'd squeeze every dime. And my mother was very opposite, very generous. But in order to be that generous, she had to produce for herself. And what she taught my sisters is that you don't sit around and depend on anyone to make your life work for you. You make your life work. And when you're on a certain level where your life is working, then people who deal with you have to deal with you from the standpoint of respect and not from pity. And it becomes very important. It's critical because when I deal with Grace, I understand that Grace is her own person, period. And that she has her own views, her own ideas, and she moves within the brand that she has created for herself. And I've learned some things from a biblical perspective. When I look at them from a natural perspective, I understand that many times we use the scriptures, and the dominant culture has always used scriptures to reduce us. We use the same scriptures to survive, but the dominant culture has used the scriptures to reduce us, make us feel like we're less than, and we use them to survive. one of the scriptures that people use and take it totally out of context or destroy because they don't understand the logistics. And they say the weaker vessel, the weaker vessel. Now I have a thermos over here, and this thermos I can run a car over it. I have some glasses in my cupboard that if you drop them, they'll shatter. The vessel or the glass is weaker than the thermos, but whatever I can put inside the thermos, I can put inside the glass, which means that intellectuality, cognitive energy, anytime you deal with creativity, integrity, honesty, when you deal with just brilliance, brilliance goes inside the glass as well as it goes inside the thermos. So the outward shelter, the outward pulchritude is simply for sex dimorphism. That's the only reason we call a woman a weaker vessel, because she has to do certain things with her body in a sexual dimorphism, having babies, reproduction, that men don't do. But that only makes the shell. That does not make her less integral, less intellectual, less creative, less inspiring, less strong. Nothing has anything to do with what goes in. That's why the Bible says there's neither male nor female in God, because he's internal. Man looks at the outward appearance, God looks at the heart. A woman is just as brilliant as any man walking the earth, period.
Amen. Amen. Do we need the lesson? We need to say amen there? Okay. You know, that is so awesome. Is Congressman Claiborne still around? Okay, bring him back. Okay, so after we won the, yeah, after we won the election with Joe and Kamala recently, Bishop Jones, you text me, and if you don't mind, I'm going to share with the audience what you said to me, and we will. I'd like for you to explain a little bit, but maybe before that, should we bring Damien in? Let's bring Damien in on the conversation, because I want to get back to Congressman Claiborne before he gets as much as he can. But I'm going to kind of shuffle back and forth. I want to talk about the position that we find ourselves in. I'm going to talk to you about the kakistocracy that you just taught me. So let's remember that. And so you can share with the audience. But I want to talk about my real life experience. Many of you may or may not know that I qualified for the Olympics in the 100-meter dash. You know, I'm typical Jamaican, right? So one of the things that I've learned from being an athlete and even running relay and passing the baton is that we always put the quickest person out of the block to start the relay, right? And then the fastest one we usually have to end the relay. Yes. So what we do, right? So I run when I run track and field, I had the opportunity and of running with three of America's fastest athletes: Alice Brown, Flo Jo, and Evelyn Ashford. Okay, Alice Brown started the relay, and Ashford and myself was in the middle. But of course, you all know I've got to be the slowest one. So it doesn't matter so much how slow I was, because I knew that at the start we were going to get way ahead, and at the end, if I just maintain something and give it to the final without any problems, we're home. We're going to win. It's impossible to lose. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this special man. I think he's sitting right here with us today, and that's James Claiborne. He ran the first leg, and there is no way we could have had a better start in this race. The power of the Black women's vote and voice is being heard as we take the baton and run the second leg. So if you get me, I think James Claiborne started the first leg. So the second leg, we brought home Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, right? So now we're on the third leg, right? And that is the Biden-Harris administration and the appointments and the leadership that they're putting forth. So with that right leader in the right place and putting us in the right place, I believe we would have won, and we will win. I might highlight this man who ran the first leg of the relay again, taking off so fast that he had given the Black women and the community a great start in this race. So I just want to say, Congressman Clyburn, thank you for doing that for us. And we really want to take this baton, and as you continue to guide and to observe or guard the path of this third leg, and we're relying on you. So would you like to speak a little bit on that, if you get my drift?
I do get your drift. I'm glad that you put me in the first leg so that I can sit here and cheer the rest of the others on. I'm glad I'm not on that last leg. Whoever's got the last leg to run, my goodness, I hope they'll do well, because that's where we are now. We are trying to put together an administration that not just looks like America. We keep talking about that. I want to see an administration that will respond to the dreams and aspirations of Black Americans, as well as it's done for other Americans throughout our history. We all know what the history of the country is. And we know that if we do not be careful and learn lessons from that history, we're bound to repeat them. George Santayana said that to us years ago. If we don't learn the lessons of history, we're bound to repeat them. Now, hopefully, we have learned lessons, and we now know, hopefully, how to respond and how not to respond. We have got to really participate as Joe and Kamala put this administration together. We can't sit back and wait for it to happen and then react. And that's why a lot of us are participating now. We don't want to wait. Let's be involved. Let's make our suggestions, make recommendations. And you know, the media, every time you say something, they're looking for a headline. And so they may or misrepresent something. Yeah, I'm not interested in telling this administration who to hire, but I am interested in what. I am interested in how. These things are important. I don't think you have to be African American to understand the role that African Americans played in this. Everybody that look back on this race, they know exactly what we were waiting for in Pennsylvania, what we were waiting for in Michigan, and what we were waiting for in Georgia. We were waiting to get the final votes out of Fulton and DeKalb County down in Georgia. And when those votes came through, Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
When the votes came in out of Philadelphia or
Joe
out
Biden.
of Detroit, those were the African American votes. And it's kind of interesting that the incumbent president, when he started challenging, what votes did he challenge? He was challenging those votes. So I think the people know that. But we've got to make sure that nobody forgets it. Make sure we understand what role we played and do what's necessary to make sure that the investments that people made in this presidency, that these investments pay off handsomely. That's what it's going to take for us to sustain this. Because if we don't, it'll be just like it was in 2008. We won a tremendous victory with Barack Obama in 2008. But what happened in 2010? We lost almost 60 House seats, and we lost our majority. So what we've got to do is make sure that we put together an administration that will sustain this victory.
Absolutely. I think that's really important. And I'm going to say to you about the fourth leg is once we women get in that right position on the third leg, the game is over. So that's the moral of the story. Put us in the right place, give us the right responsibility, and America will be right side up again, as you will hear later. But I have another powerful man that has been raised by women and also has a household with women where he's the only man in the household. So let's learn a little bit about Dr. Damian Alexander. Dr. Damian Alexander. With prison visiting room as its playground, Damian grew up without his father. He was raised by a single mother, creating a loving and safe environment for him to grow. During his teen years, he discovered that he had a rich legacy of enterprising women in his family, from his great aunt, Dr. C. Dolores Tucker, teaching him the nuances of activism, politics, and business, to meeting powerhouses like Rosa Parks and Coretta Scott King. While his mother was his rock, it was clear he was raised by a village of brilliant women. Damian attended Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then received a doctorate from the University of Cambridge in London. He's a sociologist specializing in economics and education. Teaching a variety of courses at Georgetown University, he also authored a textbook, The Imprint of Business Norms on American Education. Blessed with three beautiful, intelligent, and athletic ladies in his life, his wife and two daughters, he's been married for 15 years, enjoying the joys and challenges of life. The foundation his mother provided him and his aunt's business acumen gave him the perseverance, love, and stability to build his current business of partnership building and grant making for philanthropic community of 700 business leaders and family offices. Damian is also an independent private investment fund developer for those sharing the common goal of helping marginalized people achieve financial equity. Welcome, my friend, Dr. Damian Alexander. Okay, hi Doc, how are you?
I'm outstanding. How are you?
Good to see you. You two are from a family of women around you and athletes, so you probably understand a little bit about my little analogy of my track days.
I do.
What do you think? What do you think about the analogy? And what do you want for your girls? As a father of two girls and a wife, what are you looking for the future of your girls and your wife?
Yeah, no, I thought the analogy is absolutely appropriate to answer the question in terms of what I see for my girls. I build off of what Bishop said. The biblical reference to women is 100% correct. And what I've always focused on were those first 7 chapters of Proverbs that refers to wisdom as the feminine. It's beautiful. So what do I want for my girls? I want them to chase wisdom. I want them to go get wisdom. In fact, it was my mother who instilled that into me. And so I think that that's one of the chiefest things that we need to instill into our young girls. And it's what I endeavor to do with mine as well. With that said, the relay analogy, look, you can't tell it now, but I ran track back in the day, and I ran those relays, and that third and fourth leg, you got to beware of that monkey on the back, that anchor leg. Yeah,
that's right.
So whoever takes up that last leg, that's an important leg to run. We can't let them get lapped. That's a very important leg, but I'm confident in the direction of the country that we're taking. I'm confident that there are the picking is not slim. I'm confident that we will have plenty of women of color to choose from that can really run a successful leg, and that monkey won't get them in the end. So it's an appropriate analogy.
Well, great. I just have to talk about your life experience, and that's what it is. Again, you've done research from your Cambridge and Georgetown, and as a professor at Georgetown, you have researched and studied economic sociology. What path do you suggest for economic equity, in particular in Black America and Black women also?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and I think a good way to touch on that is actually to do a bit of a throwback to Adam Smith himself. And what I mean by that is Adam Smith talked about a concept called fellow feeling, which is basically in our economy, in the capitalist economy, you actually have sympathy, and you should have sympathy. And I think that's what we're seeing in the country now. You're seeing sympathy play out, or should play out, in ways that should spur a response from our government, a response from our community members, a response that says we need to support Black women in ways that make them competitive in our marketplace. So what I see out of this is, and what I would love to see, is more of a focus on Black-owned businesses,
That's it.
female Black-owned businesses. And normally what we do is, from my point of view, when we focus on Black-owned businesses, I think we sometimes neglect those micro businesses that are in communities, the barbershops, the beauty salons. Some of those businesses that are in the basement really need acceleration so they can get up to at least the first floor, get the accounting opportunities that they need, get certification opportunities that they need. Those need to be accelerated. I would love to see out of the administration a focus on Black woman-owned businesses, both micro, those early stage, and so forth, and see philanthropy also get involved too.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Bishop Jones, with all the competing interests of different population, immigrants versus Black, Africans, African American versus people of color, and you have all these different enumerations, dissensions in these spaces. How do we bridge this divide and find a place of unity as one Black people and is it possible?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to the analogy, the 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 4x110 analogy. One of the things that's critical is being able to pass the baton while the first person is moving, the second person is moving, the passing of the baton. So even though you may have been slower than the rest in the field, your ability to pass the baton becomes very critical. And in order to pass the baton at the right time, you have to acknowledge the ability of the other person, and you have to be able to time yourself. Now, when you talk about your escapades and your exploits in track and field, I cannot let this moment pass. I beat Donald Quarry in long jump. I am Jamaica's 1966 long jump champion, class 2. I jumped 27 feet 7 inches at 15 years old. End of story. Now I can go on.
Wow.
One of the
All
things,
athletes here tonight.
Fabulous.
one of the things that we have to understand, and I'm telling you this from a theological point of view, I think it's important for me to introduce this, and that is that the evangelicals have hurt us seriously when it comes to what it's about in terms of oneness among people. If anybody should be promoting the oneness of America in all of its diversity, it should have been from the church, evangelical, and from our position. And I say that because we cannot give our theological and theocratical position. We cannot allow what our mission is, which is to bring all people together. It's to go into all the world and proclaim the unity of Jesus Christ and the oneness of Jesus Christ, to love everybody. That's our job. Whenever we give up that mission to become minions and sycophants to political self-aggrandizing leaders, we have lost the sight of what we are about. My mission first is to bring all people together under the umbrella of Jesus Christ as a Christian. The number of unity where there is no divisive element of any kind is one. And this country will never be greater than its weakest link. The biggest problem why we are in this economic situation right now is because whatever destroys your economy, whatever destroys it, and the pandemic destroyed the economy. And if you don't fix the pandemic, you can't fix the economy. And if the pandemic is killing one group of people out of proportion to another group of people, then that's where you have to go, and that's what you got to fix. It is ridiculous to think that you can have a great country and allow so many people to live under the poverty line, to have to struggle for anything they get, to have to go and deal with the bigotry and all of the things that happen just because they are of a different color. There is no color to souls. There is no color to intellect. There is no color to ability. There is no color to what you can do when you have opportunity. So my message is, let us get back to basic Christian, where America is supposed to be a Christian country. Let us get back to basic Christian principles. And Jesus watered it all down into just a very slight one-shot deal. Do unto others as you would have them do to you. And if we can get that, it doesn't matter what the color of somebody's skin is. I'm looking for intellect. And really, Lorna, I'm not looking for a female idea of architecture, a female idea of biology, a female idea of economics. I'm looking for the idea of economics, the idea of agriculture, architecture, zoology, biology. I'm looking for the brilliance of her mind. And if we can understand that outward appearance is insignificant when it comes to the brilliance that people have, and if we will help each other by respecting each other, we will have a great country. And I think that's the way we're going to go. We've got to get
You
away
know,
from kakistocracy. We have endured
go
4 years
ahead.
of kakistocracy. That's a remote Greek word for a type of government. And I'll let the audience check it out.
Okay, yes. I know you're a teacher. You love to teach, and I love the teaching moments. You know, it's really interesting because even within our own community, though, we're fighting, we're struggling. I mean, Kamala, somebody's saying she's Asian, somebody's saying that she's Black, somebody is saying that she's Jamaican, and somebody is saying that, you know, she's all of that, which is awesome to be able to embrace. But yet we're struggling among ourselves in terms of our own race. So how can we as a people get together? Because history has taught us that divide and conquer is what the supremacists do to control us. We can talk about Africa. We can talk about our own community of Blackness. And, you know, I heard people talk about reparation. And I was in a call recently where people were talking about reparation, but the reparation is only for certain segment of the population because this one came here for a better life. And they're saying that were here because they didn't have choices. And so you have these delineations. So as a preacher and as a minister, of course, you're preaching the oneness. But do you think that religion is playing their role in all of this that we're happening? Because, and also, as a matter of fact, in the name of religion are all wars. Wars are always in the name of religion. So
Let me put it to you this way, and I don't know, I'll be as laconic as I can because I want to hear from the doctor also. Let me, first of all, the great problem is that the Moseses of today, if you look and see who's actually leading the civil rights movement and who's actually leading the protests that went around the world. For the first time in America, it's not clergy. It's not clergy at all. And I will tell you this, that the meanest animal in the zoo, in the whole religious zoo, is not the devil. The meanest animal in the religious zoo is the love of money. And what has happened is that the Moseses who should have been leading could not get out of Egypt. We have become, as pastors, preachers, we have become so money oriented for the last 40 years, health, wealth, and prosperity, until we won't stick our necks out because of our bottom line. We won't stick our necks out because we don't want to make anybody upset. We don't want to hurt anybody, and we don't want to lose our money. So primarily, we are no longer able to lead. Then the people who are leading, like Black Lives Matter, we ostracize them, departmentalize them, criticize them, and in some of us even demonize them because they may be lesbian, they may be a little bit different from what we think is right, but we gave up the right to lead because we got so caught up with the financial aspect of what we do until we have no voice anymore. That's one of the big declines. The second thing is, are Black people willing? We can no longer live and hear songs that demonize and criticize and lower our women. We can no longer think that's great. All of that cultural stuff destroys the validity authenticity, credulity of the people who raise us, the people who are there. I see young men and I say they're giving their mothers a hard time. I said, where's your dad? Nowhere around. I said, you are the man of this house. So you ought to do something to endorse and help your mother to get it done. The third thing I want to say is this. Black folk, are we ready to take the responsibility for what's going on in our own communities? I'm not talking about white on black now. I'm talking black on black. Now, obviously, the white people are killing more white people. Black people kill more black Asians because they're in the same neighborhoods. But at the end of the day, we've got preachers and leaders who are so quick to be on CNN and every other network. When the white man is against the black man, we want the white police to snitch on each other. That word snitch, hate it, but that's what we use. We want them to tell on each other when they mistreat us, but we won't tell on each other when we need to talk to get rid of our criminal element. The truth is, you got criminals on that side, on the white side, the police side, like I told the sheriff, we got criminals over there and we got criminals over here. But let's distinguish between criminals and proper, decent
He's gone. The other guy's
citizens
gone.
and eliminate them. All right, I'm sorry.
Yes. No, that's all good. Jump in, Damien. I'll let you, chime in. I'm sure you have something to say as a sociologist and economist.
Yeah, no, I think everything said is really important. And I agree with everything the Bishop is saying. I would like to call out a piece that I think we're probably alluding to that doesn't get talked about enough, I think. There's a good book by Nell Painter. She's a faculty member at Princeton and African-American woman. And she wrote this book called The History of White People. And by the title alone, it might sound, controversial to some, but it's really a brilliant piece that really takes a look at the history of European culture and what that means in terms of the understanding and the conceptions of race. But in the introduction, she calls out something that I think we should really take a lesson from. And what she calls out is the fact that race is a social construct. This we know. Mm-hmm. Race is a social construct. First and foremost, we're really talking about skin tones. Granted, there's more to it. There's a power dynamic to it. Clearly, we know this. There's supremacy component. Clearly, we know this. But ultimately, God really made us as a human race. And we've taken this concept of humanity and boxed it in and created distinctions among ourselves. And that's really first and foremost what's problematic for me when we even begin talking about issues of race, because how often do we do what we're doing now, which is elevate this dynamic or this conversation to that particular level. So for me, it's a challenge for me. And I'll tell a little story. My girls go to a private school, and there was this conversation where they said, look, there's a lot of social unrest. Let's bring all of the Black families together. That might be good for some, but for me, I refuse to participate. If we're a school community, why am I going to participate in a Black conversation and then just to watch you have a white conversation with white parents? So I had to call that out. But the part that really got me was when we talk about these things and talk about solutions, one of the solutions was, well, we're going to diversify the curriculum because there's a lot of unrest in the school right now and unrest in the country. So you're going to diversify the school by talking about Black saints. We can't get Jesus right. Let's start there. What do I care about a saint? Let's
awesome.
Get Jesus right first. So really, you know what I mean? So for me, the conversation of race, I think it's time that we really elevate this to the next level. And I think in that is included with passing the baton. I love that aspect of baton passing. And I think inclusive in that is elevating the conversation of race to another level. The second part on greed, I think it's 100% correct. Even traders, if you're a market trader, trading stocks and currencies and that sort of thing, they thrive off of a concept called greed and fear. When the little green candles go up, that's greed. When the red candles go down, that's fear. Our entire market economy is based upon these cultural and emotional nuances. And that also gets missed when we start thinking about, from an economic perspective, what is our economy? Our economy is psychology. Our economy is emotional. All of these things make up what the economy is. And I think where we are right now is we're at a place where we're experiencing other people's emotions, other people's mental models and reactions to what's taking place in their communities. But nothing happens in the economy without social relations between people. Our economy is about relationships between people. And that's what we're seeing now.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Did you want to jump in and chime in on anything there before I move on, Bishop? You're muted. You're muted. Okay. This is awesome, and we could talk about this all
Go
evening
ahead.
long. But with the Christmas, and I don't know. I think Congressman Claiborne is gone. He's gone. Okay. I don't know if we can touch on some of these things, but Christmas is a few weeks away, and almost a year since we've been quarantined from family and friends. And I wanted to talk about what are these Congress doing? I thought we were a country with checks and balances, and we have people that are starving, and we have people that are dying every day. And it's, how do we get past all of this among ourselves when our leaders, and are we doing enough as a people individually to put pressure on our leaders to make sure that our country and our people are really cared for? Does anybody want? I know you're not.
Well, the thing I fear the most, and I'm sure Dr. Alexander is better at this than me, the thing I fear the most for the longest is that America was drifting back into the feudal system, where you have a few people like an oligarchy. You got a few people operating and running everything, and everybody else is become minimized, and most people have begun to think that they have no voice in anything anymore. So people don't really get all riled up except something catastrophic happens. What we need to do as a group of people is to become less incident responsive and set precedent. And I think we have to do that among ourselves. We have to buy our products, buy our own products. We have to support our own businesses, and we have to start depending less and less on the government, because obviously everything that's happening with the three groups of government, particularly the Senate now, with all of the shenanigans that's going on with the present White House, they are thinking of their own self-aggrandizing, narcissistic positions. People have to understand, when you're in a position like that, you are to serve, and serving people becomes significant, not serving yourself. One of the problems that I've
Absolutely.
noted, and I'm going to be finished, is this. Many people think that what they have received is what they have achieved. And anytime you start thinking that way, you will become the worst servant of the people ever.
That is so awesome. You say that. I have always tell people I am a servant. Whether you call me a servant leader or servant, I don't even care which one of them, because I'm just a servant. And I believe, I'm happy and I'm living well and I'm living large, maybe somebody would say, but all of that is based on the fact that I have been a servant, never out to money. It was always about serving the people, and the response that you get from that. And like you, Bishop Jones, have traveled all over the world, and same thing for Dr. Alexander. No, we've all traveled over the globe doing good. And these things matter. And you'll find that people that have traveled and experienced other cultures, we're able to get along and understand human beings better. And I think that is lacking in our community today. And I think, I'm just grateful to have both of you here with me. It has been awesome. I wish we could have some more time, and I hope we can touch on this again. Bishop Noel Jones, you were great. Thank you for being here with us today. I want to do one more. I think I may have time for one last question. What are your thoughts on the progress that we have made in these areas, and the progress that we should expect from a President Joe Biden? And it doesn't have to be political. It's just we're a part of the society. We got to expect something from them. What should we be expecting from them?
For me, it's pretty basic. I expect to see more access for our young people, more access for women of color, and I mean access to capital. I mean access to networks. My academic field necessitates a look at the economy that looks at the essence of culture, the essence of norms, and the power of those together. So women of color need access to capital. There needs to be access to networks in banking, corporate world, period in the story. How is it that I can have two daughters and not expect to contribute to the world and not make it a great place for them to be able to excel the way I have been able to excel? My aunt C. Dolores Tucker was the first African-American Secretary of State. That's a great legacy. And now I'm blessed with daughters, but I have to actually expect the same thing from our administrators, those who have authority in government. And I expect that from this administration. I expect that we should see more access, more opportunities for our young people and our women. And for me, I just prioritize business right now. I think that's the key theme for me.
Very laconically, I would simply say that we have got to understand that in making other people greater, we make all of us greater. Being
Absolutely.
able to access other people's skill sets. That's why you get involved with people not because of what you have. You get involved with people because of what they can become. And that blesses all of us. And I hope that's what this administration is doing. Not just to have a rainbow group, but to have a rainbow group that knows how to make every other group better.
That is so awesome. I think that's a great way to go out. But you guys could not have said it better. And Damien, one of the things that we need more than anything else, like you said, is not just access, but access to capital and access to influence. You know, and someone said,
and advice. We need advice.
Absolutely.
We need mentor. We need more mentors. Definitely need mentors. 'Cause I know if I had mentors coming into this country with not having any family here, my parents from Jamaica was still supporting me when I was in Canada to go to school, you know, and I came to this country as a registered nurse, but, you know, with the business mind, went on and become, you know, a business leader. But I think, you know, having that, if I tell people every time, maybe if I wasn't living here in Beverly Hills and having people come to the house, it opened up access for me. So we have to figure out how to access the system and how that we can be more creative in doing that. But that is a critical point, is to be able to have access and also access to capital and influence. That's the only way we're going to meet it. Men, it tend to give the job to men with no experience, or maybe for that matter, I could say to white people with no experience, because they have an uncle over there that they know and they learn on the job. But when it comes to women, we always have to prove ourselves before we can get a position. And I think all these this and first, that we need to get that eradicated. We want to have an equal America where we can stop saying, I'm the first one and I'm the first one. Your aunt, your grand aunt, how long ago that was, she was the first one. We should stop saying that. I also want, for the record, to let you know, there are only 2 Black women that has ever been in the Senate of the United States. And that was Kamala Harris was the last one. And now she's been moved on to being vice president. We don't know what's gonna happen if our governor is gonna replace her with another Black woman, or they're talking about another, you know, nationality, but maybe another man. So these are things that we need to stop saying the first. We have never had a Black woman as governor in the United States. It's only about, I mean, these things we got to stop, because we are qualified. We have women that are strong. We have women that are brilliant. It's not that we're not there. We got the brilliant minds. So we just need to harness these people, give them an opportunity for the position, and make sure that we can one day turn America right side up again by saying, like, was it Chisholm that says, ain't I a woman? Was it Chisholm? Am I right? Okay. Like Shirley Chisholm, you know, if women were allowed to take this world and turn it upside down, give us the opportunity again to turn it right side up. And I think we are ready. The time is right. And I want to thank you, gentlemen, for understanding and for supporting the power of the Black woman's voice, because you have experienced it and evidently you're confident enough to continue to support us. We love you. Mwah. Thank you so very much. God bless your heart. I'm going to sign off now and say thanks to all my audience that have been listening. I hope this has been an inspiring information for you. And I hope that you will continue to join us as we continue to spread the word and to have everybody unite as one America. So we go on. We're going to do a tribute. So stand by, gentlemen, even though you may be off the air. We're going to take you off with a tribute to Joe Biden. But before that, I want to remind my audience, please, COVID is real. Please wear your mask. Do not hesitate to wear your mask and wash your hand. You can save lives. I'm a healthcare professional myself. And recently I was touched. My office was touched with COVID. So one of my nurses was, and I felt like I was responsible. I felt so horrible because here I am fighting for nurses on the front line to get all the protective equipment that they need. And one of my employees came down with COVID. So I take this very personal. So I am telling all of you, it is real. Protect yourself, wash your hand, social distancing. It is so high right now that I recommend that you just stay home. If you don't have to be out of your cocoon with your family, please stay there until we can get this resolved. The vaccinations are on the way, but they're not here yet. So please live long enough so that you can have the choice of the vaccination. Again, I want to thank all of my listeners for tuning in. I want to thank these awesome, powerful Black men that we had here this afternoon. So let's get ready and watch. And also, I must remind you that there is still another race in Georgia. We have the Senate race. And if we don't get the Senate race, our hands are going to be tied in the way we govern. So please, if you can make a phone call, if you have family and friends, if you can give a few dollars here and there, don't forget to support Georgia whichever way you can. Let's try to get these 2 Senate seats. At this time, let's do a tribute to Joe Biden. Thank you all very much. I love you all and look forward to seeing you in the next Lorna M. Johnson Global Institute virtual town hall, December 16th. Same time. Thank you very much.
It is now my great honor to introduce the President-elect of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
But I want the public to know that I'm voting for Joe Biden. South Carolinians should be voting for Joe Biden.
Our loyalty is not to South Africa, it's to South Africans. And the South Africans are majority Black, and they are being excoriated.
And what a testament it is to Joe's character that he had the audacity to select a woman as his vice president.
This is our mission. We can end the hate and the fear. We can be what we are at our best, the United States of America. Today, tens of millions of Americans will be a whole lot healthier from this moment on. This is a great deal.
I am pleased to award our nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
America is a beacon for the globe. We will lead not only by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. Spread the faith. God love you all. May God bless America, and may God protect our church. Thank you, thank you, thank you.